Hey, what's up and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing our final thoughts and 1,000 round review of the Beretta M9A4. Now this may look a little different from the last time that y'all saw it, but we finally got our RMR plate in. So we have the Trijicon RM06 up top. We have a Surefire X300 Alpha for our white light. And we also have the Langdon Tactical trigger job in a bag kit installed on this handgun. Now I'm going to do a separate review on the Langdon Tactical trigger job in a bag, but it completely changed how this handgun feels. It's night and day in my opinion. Again, so if you're interested, be on the lookout for that video. But I just wanted to let you know that we did change a few things from factory on this handgun. I also want to mention that I was supposed to get a code for this red dot plate. I didn't see one come in from Beretta, so I saw one on their website and I paid for it. I was supposed to get one free, but I paid for it. So just wanted to give y'all a heads up if y'all are waiting on a code. I didn't get mine. I just saw this was available and ended up purchasing it, even though I registered my handgun. So as well as this, I wanted to mention that I brought out some supers and subs, 115, 124 grain, and I think 147 grain. And we're going to be shooting with the Dead Air Wolf 9 SD. We're going to shoot it in the long configuration and also the K configuration. And for our holster setup, we're going to run a A&R design. This is a holster design for the M9A3, but it also fits the M9A4. This is on a Safariland QLS, as well as the UBL mid-ride, and we have a T-Rex Arms thigh strap. So this is going to be my holster setup for the day, and so on and so forth. So let's get ready, let's get shooting, and if you like the content, stick around, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, but we'll get shooting. Then we'll test everything right here and kind of go into our final thoughts. So we're going to work on our double action trigger pull. We have a target about 10 yards behind us, and what we're going to do is with the hammer decocked, we're going to draw the handgun, present it to the target, get that good, nice, long, smooth double action trigger pull, decock the hammer, reholster, and rinse repeat. So let's get a few reps into this. That was super smooth. The Langdon Tactical trigger job in a bag really smoothed that out. So let's focus on our single action follow-up shots. We'll start off with the handgun in double action, then take 2 subsequent shots in single action. Make sure we're all loaded up and good to go. Make it happen. So that felt pretty good. Let's run a quick build drill and we will go grab our silencer or suppressor. 6 shots from double action, 10 yards away, as quick as we can. All right, sorry about this sun behind me. It is killing me today, but we have the Wolf 9 SD in the K configuration on the handgun. I personally like this a little bit better because on the full configuration, it's a little front heavy. But anyways, we are shooting some 147 or 150 grain subs here. I also have 124 grain in my pocket. So what we're gonna do is take 2 shots into the berm so you can see how quiet it is. Then we'll take 2 shots on steel. So let's get it. I'm gonna take my headphones off for this. All right, so the steel was definitely louder than the handgun. This thing is super, super fun to shoot suppressed. My only complaint with this gun, or with 92s in general, is, I'll get in front of the sun real quick. I get a ton of debris back into my face. So it feels like somebody is taking a handful of sand and throwing it into my face every single time I shoot these guns. So they aren't super pleasant to shoot suppressed, but I mean, they're all right. So we will try it now with 124 grain. 2 in the dirt, 2 on the steel. Again, it's still pretty quiet, but debris still coming back. I wonder how it's going to affect the lens of the RMR over time. I can already tell just looking through it, there's a good bit of carbon and everything on there. So we will go put the Wolf 9 SD in the long configuration and do it once more. Okay, this thing feels crazy front heavy right now, but kind of the same deal. 150 grain subs. We are going to shoot them 2 in the dirt, 2 on the steel. Full configuration. Way quieter with this setup to my ears. I don't know how well it's coming across on camera, but definitely quieter, and definitely a bunch of crap being thrown in your face. So we'll go to 124 grain. Same deal. This has been super fun to shoot suppressed, but to tell you the truth, I'm really debating the Parker Mountain Machine compensator for this handgun. These don't have a whole ton of recoil as is, but I may or may not. Anyways, let's get this back to the table, and we will go over our final thoughts on the handgun. So I wanted to take a second and kind of amend my previous video on the handgun. When I looked back at it, I noticed that I touched on some of my criticisms, but I didn't really embellish the good on the handgun like I wanted to. Also, I kind of wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the red dot mounting system and explain a little bit further my stance on it, so we will touch on that. So first things first, we got the handgun here, and I just wanted to say, in terms of reliability, the handgun was very, very reliable. I only had one malfunction, and it was with the 150 grain subs that we were shooting with a suppressor. And just to take note, I am shooting with a booster or a piston or linear inertial decoupler, whatever you want to say, but I am shooting with a piston in this handgun. And what happened is the 150 grain, it's kind of like a wad cutter, a flat nose bullet, but essentially the slide I don't think had a whole lot of velocity, and the follower couldn't push the next round up, and the flat part of that cartridge, or the flat nose of that bullet, got caught on the feed ramp. So it was a quick fix. All I had to do was tap rack and I was good to go. But I did want to mention that I did have one malfunction in over 1,000 rounds, but it was 150 grain sub suppressed. Moving on, and I'll just kind of touch on some of the things that I did like and some of the things that I didn't like. So first of all, the things that I like about the handgun is it's really accurate. It's super comfortable to shoot. It's a breeze. It's just a very, very nice, flat, smooth shooting handgun. If you like Berettas or the 92 series, this handgun is going to be awesome. Yeah, I don't think that you'll have any complaints if you decide to pick one up. But other than that, kind of moving into the cons, and I said this before, is the trigger out of the box was, now that I have the Langdon Tactical trigger job in a bag in this, I really, really did not prefer the factory trigger. I mean, the factory double action trigger was, it was off the charts. It was probably over 10 pounds. The factory single action, I put it on my scale. My scale only goes up to about 8 or 9 pounds, but it was breaking at about 6.5 to 7 pounds. Once I put the trigger in here, or the Langdon Tactical trigger, it was night and day. My single action trigger pull is down to about 4 pounds, and my double action is probably around 6 or 7 pounds, maybe a little bit higher. But it greatly improved that. So if I had to give a critique on this handgun, for over $1,000 that you're probably going to pay for this, or I paid for this, it may drop once kind of demand drops. I would have liked to see Beretta put in a little bit nicer trigger in here. One thing that I also didn't love is they still are including standard height sights on suppressor ready handguns. I wish that they would include suppressor height sights from the factory. They're including a threaded barrel, so on and so forth, but I don't know if y'all can see that. The sights don't even match up even close to getting over the can. I mean, this suppressor is maybe 1.7 inches in diameter. You can buy some ones that are smaller in diameter, but this is, I would say, around standard. And even if you had a smaller one, you'd be hard pressed to see over the suppressor. Next is how it shot suppressed. And this is kind of inherent to the Beretta 92 series of handguns. When I shoot these suppressed, I always get a lot of debris back in my face. And that happens occasionally on handguns, but I've noticed with this specific style of handgun, I notice it much more, if that makes any sense at all. It could be due to the open top design. It could be how the brass is ejected, kind of throwing debris, unburnt powder, etc., so on and so forth back into the shooter. But I would say that shooting this gun suppressed is not as pleasant as shooting other guns suppressed, but it shoots. Other than that, it shoots great, in my personal opinion. Unsuppressed shoots fine. I don't get any of that back in my face. So just note your mileage may vary, but if you do suppress this handgun, you may kind of run into that, and it could also be ammo dependent too. So if you do, and if you are suppressing a 92, let me know if you're kind of seeing the same thing. And then lastly, I'd say my last critique is the red dot mounting system. And this is, call it an unfair comparison, but I always compare this to kind of the Langdon Tactical red dot mounting system. And both of these use plates. However, the plate on this handgun, essentially what happens is instead of milling a recess into the top of the slide and then putting an adapter plate in there that sits in the slide and then the red dot on top, Beretta chose to just mill out 2 lugs, and you can find pictures of this online. They just milled out 2 lugs, and the plate actually sits on top of the slide and conforms around the radius top of the slide, if that makes any sense at all. And maybe I can do this. Actually, we're completely unloaded. We're clear in here, but maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. But essentially what this does is mounts the red dot measurably higher than the Langdon Tactical system. So one thing that I wish Beretta would have done, I mean, it's been done before, it's been worked around before. I wish they would have found a way to get the red dot lower to the slide. So it kind of boils down to, if I were to buy a Beretta M9 or a 92 series, would I buy this handgun again? And the answer is maybe, and I'll kind of get into that. So first things first, if you have a M9, M9A4, or just a 92 series, if it were me and you were thinking about upgrading to the M9A4, I would look hard at just getting your slide milled for a red dot. That's if you wanted to go with a red dot handgun. If you're fine spending around $1,000 for a red dot ready handgun, this is a good option. One thing I did want to mention as well, and we said this before in the beginning of the video, I guess we'll actually call this a con too, but Beretta did not send this plate with the handgun. What they did is they released the handgun and said, hey, in 4 to 5 weeks or a month, month and a half, however long, we'll send you a code for these plates. And essentially what I did is I kept up with it, and I noticed online that Beretta released these plates but didn't send me a code. I registered my handgun, everything like that. I was supposed to get a code to get a free plate, but I didn't. I had to buy this plate with my own money. I don't really know what happened there. I think other people kind of are facing the same thing, but I'll leave it as a ding on Beretta for not releasing at least a basic plate, like at least a Trijicon or a loophole plate that was ready to go when the handgun released. Anyways, moving on. Like I said, if you want to upgrade to RDO handgun and you are shooting an old M9, I would recommend getting your slide milled. Like I said, if you want to spend about $1,000 for a red dot ready handgun, I think this is a really good choice. And maybe if you have a little bit more disposable income or your budget allows for a little bit more expensive handgun, I would have probably went with the Langdon Tactical Beretta out of the gate. I mean, once I look at this and I look at putting the trigger in, doing all this junk to it, I'm probably in the ballpark of the Langdon Tactical Beretta. But again, your mileage may vary, so you'll have to kind of look at your budget, look at what you want, look at your needs, and go from there. But anyways, that is going to conclude my 1,000 round plus review of the handgun. I really appreciate y'all sticking with me. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. Leave us a thumbs up if you like it. Leave us a comment down below. Let me know what you're shooting. If you have an M9A4, if you have a Langdon Tactical, kind of your preference on your handguns. We're a pretty small channel, so the nice thing is I can get back to all of y'all, and I really, really like that conversation that we can have in the comments below. But I really appreciate it again. Make sure to tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog I said hi. We'll see you in the next one.